Hello, I'm Peter Davison, I'm the Fifth Doctor, and I'm a geek.
All right, with Peter Davison, the Fifth Doctor, and now that we have a female Doctor, we're going to need a male companion, and who better than you?
What a good idea. Excellent. Yes.
Why isn't this happening now? We just solved a lot of problems for BBC.
Yeah, you really have, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a wrap here. Now, Doctor Who's been around for a long time. It's celebrated its 50th anniversary a couple years ago. What do you attribute the long-lasting longevity of this show? And especially in America, which it's just kind of recently come to. We finally caught up with you guys, and now we have it, so tell us.
Well, it's been around. I mean, it's been around over here for a long time. I mean, I think Tom Baker was the first person who appeared over here. In some areas, it was John Pertwee. But the Whovians in those days were rather looked down upon by the Star Trek fans and the Star Wars fans. But they've now been accepted and welcomed into the fold of sci-fi fandom. So it's been a slow burn, is what I mean. And obviously, the BBC raised their game when the series came back, It's been great. It's been great for the series over here. When I first took over, people had never seen me. I made my first appearance at a convention, and all they thought was, "It's that bloke from the Vet series. What's he doing here?" But no, it's wonderful for the series. It's wonderful for us to be able to come over here, and it's now great that the classic. The first 7 Doctors are available on BritBox because they haven't been before. It's been a question I've been asked many times over the past year. How do we see the classic series, because they've been disappearing from other outlets, and now they're here in one.
Now, would you recommend they digest them episode 1 straight through, or is there a certain order you want to watch them in? You first, right?
I think you should start with Doctor 5 and work backwards and forwards at the same time. Always referring back to Doctor number 5.
It's a very Doctor Who answer, backwards and forwards.
The trouble is, it is, you're absolutely right. The trouble is with starting with the early ones, is you might take years before you get to me.
Yeah, so just watch you, and then go back in order, and rewatch you when you get back there.
Yeah.
All right, and then what do you think makes, there's been so many varied companions over the years, what do you think makes for a good companion for the Doctor?
Well, I've said this before, and we had some great companions when the classic series were on, but I don't think they really figured out quite how to write for a companion probably until the series came back with Rose. I think they just struggled, and I think we've got Ace here, and she was a wonderful companion. We had Sarah Jane; she was wonderful as well. But I think the secret is to view the Doctor through the eyes of the companion. That's when they really discovered how to write for companions, I think. But they've been an essential part of it, and they have been in the past badly served by. My 2 companions, especially Janet, who played Tegan, was forever moaning because she just had to go, "What's going on, Doctor?" So it's a marvelous device, and they can be used very well.
All right. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
cut you off.
not at all. We've had a succession recently of very, very strong female companions. It'll be interesting to see where they go on the companion front now.
Well, just 2 super quick things.
Yeah.
Beat to the fire, Peter. I don't want you to be political here. Who's your favorite companion that wasn't one of yours?
It would have to be Rose, really, I think, probably. As I say, because I think it was... and that has a lot to do with, obviously, Billie Piper, but also Russell T Davies, who I think told a wonderful story.
What makes Doctor Who such a long-lasting property?
Oh, if I could answer that question, I'd be a rich man, because I'd use it to make something else. It tapped into something at the time. It tapped into a need that some people have. It's like all the old fairy stories. Years ago, you'd have stories about knights in shining armour coming to rescue you. And then before that, you had all the fairy stories. We've always looked for something outside our experience that is something that we can aspire to. And Doctor Who did that for the generation in the 60s that suddenly found it on their screens. Who is that handsome stranger as the Lone Ranger goes off? Well, it's the modern equivalent of the Lone Ranger.
Now, it's always been an enormous hit in the UK, but it's recently, in the last 10 or 15 years, been a massive hit in the United States as well and around the world. Is there anything you can attribute to that? Just did the world get smaller, or did we just finally catch up to you guys?
I'll let somebody else answer that question. But what I know is it was always popular in niches when on the PBS. I think there wasn't a broadcaster prepared to network it. And suddenly they realized how good it is and how much of the property there is. Because you've now got, how many years is it since it came back? Enough years for a catalogue all on its own. And now BritBox have very sensibly realized that there isn't a streaming opportunity in America for Doctor Who and a lot of other British programming on BBC and ITV. So this initiative is very exciting.
Very exciting. One more quick thing. There's been so many different doctors and companions. What do you think makes for a good companion? Since you were a doctor, what makes for a good companion for a doctor?
A good companion is one that works with each individual doctor. So some doctors need someone vulnerable they can look after. Other doctors need someone strong to keep them behaving well. It's a chemistry thing. It'd be interesting to see what they choose to do with the 13th Doctor, whether she gets a male companion. It'll be fascinating what the dynamic will be.
Right.
But there are endless opportunities. Just as all the doctors have been very different, so have the companions.
Awesome.
You can have any actor playing the Doctor, male or female, as we now know. You can go anywhere in space and time. The Doctor can hook up with anyone, even a robot dog in the 1970s. And it's just got that amazing quality to it. I think also the character of the Doctor is kind of a brilliant role model. He hasn't got a superpower. Well, should we say his superpower is really his brain power?
Right.
So he's a clever guy, which is kind of, he's not doing anything that no one else can do. And he's also a great lover of peace. He's a lover of kind of the planet as well, and the race, human race as a whole.
Right.
And I think we just always fall in love with each Doctor who comes along.
Now we like to ask the doctors what makes for a good companion, but in your case, what do you think makes for a good doctor? And do you have, aside from your doctor, do you have a preference in one of the other doctors?
I think there's been something very special about all the people who've ever played the Doctor. As people as well as actors. They've all obviously been brilliant actors, but there's always something interesting, different, eccentric about all those people who've played the Doctor. So that's what I think is kind of really, they're standout
so diverse,
people.
Yeah. Who's your favorite? I'm
well,
going to put you on the
my
spot
favorite,
now,
I know, you're,
except for yours, not the seventh.
Well, okay, if it's not Sylvester, then I have a hunch that your favorite Doctor is always the first one that you see. So my Doctor growing up was John Pertwee, who was he was very tall. He was a sort of almost like a James Bondish character, and he was very much Earth-based as well. Which was interesting. So he couldn't leave Earth. So he had to kind of form this group of people around him, which I loved that. It was really, really great to watch him.
That's great. Now, Doctor Who's always been a huge hit in the UK. In the last 10 or so years, it's become a global monstrosity. What do you attribute the success? It's just, did we finally catch up to you guys across the pond?
Yeah, you finally realised something that we realised in the 1960s.
We're a little slow.
No, I think also it's due to people having really kind of been very so fond of it for such a long time, because when I started coming over here it was on PBS, of course, and it's due to the amazing fans who would do pledge drives and all that, and they've really kept it alive until the moment when, of course, now we have BritBox, which is where you can see Classic Who being streamed, and then it's apparently the place where you can see most Classic Who. So I really, really hope that BritBox and this accessibility of the classic series is now going to, like, there'll be a whole new generation that are growing up with Classic Who over here. Okay.
Thank you very much for your time
Thank
today.
you
Enjoy the rest.